up, mamas? Thanks so much for being here with us. Today, for this segment, we have Michelle Mansfield, who is an author, health coach, and a mom. She's going to be talking to us about how to help new moms adjusting to motherhood. Michelle, thank you so much for being here with us.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me. And hello, everyone. And thanks for joining. I'm looking forward to this.
As a mom, your time is very precious as it is. And it's not that you can't be kind to everybody and loving, but you do not have time for everyone. You don't. And so you do have to find those relationships that are nourishing and that matter and that last. And I love that you said it can be different in different stages, and that's okay. I think that's hard for a lot of people to grasp. And honestly, I had kids later on in life too. I would meet up with some of my old friends and they had several kids. I was the person they probably wanted to drop because they were talking about all their kids. And I was like, I am not interested in this, because I was in the midst of my career and I'm like, I don't want to talk about your kids.
Yeah.
But now I'm a mom, I get it, that is why they talked about their kids all the time, because it consumes you. And so I love that you brought up friendships. I think that's so important. What are some other tools and tactics that you could give to new moms that are experiencing these feelings right now?
I don't unfortunately have a magical potion to make everything go away, because what I tell mothers and how I'm writing this book right now is acknowledging that we're all different. We all have different stories of what made even if we have similar feelings like boredom, guilt, resentment, there's all these different stories that made us feel this way. So for, a quick example with like my mom guilt, I've had guilt my whole life. I had guilt when I was a child and I didn't play with a stuffed animal enough. So of course, if I am away from my daughter for an hour, that guilt comes back. And I know it's from my unique past, and I'm going to be still figuring that out, for years to come. That's what therapy's for, I guess. Right.
Right.
But I acknowledge that every mother has a different story, and every mother not every mother, but a lot of mothers just don't want someone to tell them what to do. I have read a lot of mom books, I'll just call them, and, in doing my research before this even. And although I appreciated the advice, I think what has helped me the most is just storytelling, people telling their stories. And me then becoming, like I've said earlier, comfortable with acknowledging and finding my own unique path. So I want women to do that as well, because they can. It's work, but with someone like me or anyone out there, any friend that is a great friend, just like talking about things will help you connect with your own solutions. And, I just, all these self-help books that are out there, it can be so overwhelming for these moms to have even more solutions put at them. With friendships, I could sit there and say, make effort and once a week, spend an hour, reaching out to a friend. But when you're like, you're exhausted, you're just emotionally drained, sometimes that may not work for you. And I don't want to sit there and tell women what to do. I just want to give them permission to unleash things and start getting things, out there, because I think that's the best gift that you can give someone, is that permission to be authentic, the permission to be yourself, to never apologize, for who you are, and how you feel. And, the permission to be vulnerable. And it's not a weakness. If anything, it's such a strength, and it'll get you to such an amazing, unique place for you. Your motherhood is unique to you. My motherhood, your motherhood, and anyone that's listening, we're all so different. Our kids are different. Our spouses and partners are different. Our friendships are different. So there's no like one solution for each of these feelings, or I think it's just us all having these dialogues and bouncing ideas off of each other. And maybe, like Amy Poehler says, good for her, not for me. Maybe there's those moments where you're like, yeah, that really doesn't resonate with me. But maybe talking to someone else, you're like, yeah, you'll know when it kind of
Right.
clicks, like maybe I'll try that, or, and just continue that ripple. Like I keep saying, the ripple effect.
Everything you said rings so true to me. I feel like when reading a bunch of those self-help books and mom books, as you call them, you do get very overwhelmed when your brain is already at full capacity. Somehow, even if you're sitting on the couch of boredom as a mom, sometimes it is at full capacity and you just can't handle that. And I love that you just mentioned how important dialogue is, just being vulnerable and opening up. So, since you have done so much research though and read so many things, for you personally, what's been the best bit of parenting advice that you've received either reading or just from somebody else?
All right. So this isn't parenting advice. Ironically, this is actually from a woman who doesn't even have a child, but I've carried it through since 2016. And saw her with her book launch, met her last year at her book launch, sat in the front row, raised my hand and brought up this topic to her, and wasn't, and she has never turned me off because she doesn't have children by choice. And I'm a personal development junkie. I'm always looking at ways to just learn and just become a better person in any way I can, or whatever I can do. So Marie Forleo, I don't know if you're familiar with Marie Forleo.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so she is amazing. I've used her for business wise, so she has a great following, great videos out there. She's got a course that she has. So originally I started following her and reading, her blog and all these things that she was doing out there, because of the business I was creating with health coaching. But I noticed that she weaved a lot of personal stuff throughout it. Because when you do run your own business or whatever you're doing, if you're working for someone else, your personal life does have an effect on that completely. So I just loved opening her emails. I loved her videos she would send every Tuesday. I loved listening to her speak. I loved, when she'd be on a podcast. And Super Soul Sunday, she was on and spoke. So Oprah, she's authentic with Oprah. But her subject for her Super Soul Sunday talk was the concept that she has coined, everything is figure outable. So that's the title of her book that came out last year. And she was in 25 minutes from me. I got tickets for her book launch. My friends and I went. I sat first row and it was amazing. She's so authentic, real, raw. Like, when you just get that good feeling from someone and you're just like, wow, Jersey girl, like, so like, and so this everything is figure outable. I asked her, when I raised my hand, I was like, please call on me, with all these like thousands of women in the audience. Like, please call on me. And so they did. And I went up to the mic and I was, I was shaking, like my knees were rattling because I'm like, I cannot believe I'm like 10 feet from her. And so the concept of everything is figure outable, everyone throughout the talk was talking a lot of business stuff. And I went up there and I said, how do you explain this concept when raising your child? And I said to her, I acknowledge, I'm like, I know, Marie, that you don't have, children, but I think that you would have such great wisdom about this concept when it comes to parenting. And she was very open, like super like grateful that I asked that. And she's like, I love that you asked this. And I brought up my daughter, and I have brought this concept into raising her. And so when you initially hear everything is figure outable, you think, really? Like everything is figure outable? So of course there was a man in the one man in the audience, and he's like, all right, well, what if you have cancer? Like, how do you figure that out? And like Marie takes the mic. And she puts this, like, she writes about it in the book too, a lot, about how it may not be the answer or the solution that you anticipated or hoped for or planned for, but you'll find a way to get through something. So like for me with my daughter, when I raise her, and whatever challenge comes her way, and I've been doing this since 2016 when I heard her speech, is looking in her eyes when there's a solution. And I look at Brooklyn and I say, Brooklyn, everything is figure outable. And this calmness comes on her. And she now knows what it means. Initially, I had to explain. I say, maybe, we don't have, maybe you can't do X, Y, and Z, but let's use our brains and figure out other ways to get to your happiness. So it's, with the cancer thing, I'm like, oh my gosh, how's she going to answer this one? And she said, obviously that's a tragedy, but how do you then live your life even better than you would have if you weren't diagnosed, until that day comes when you're not when you're not on this earth? That figure outable, like, I'm going to figure out how to live my best life. And up until the day, I mean, who knows if you're diagnosed with anything, if it could be 4 years, 6 years, you don't know anymore nowadays. Right. So with children, to allow them to kind of come up with, and this is obviously when they get older, like that toddler phase, they aren't going to get that. This is more, 4 years and beyond. But like, I love carrying that through with my daughter. I know it's going to carry through the rest of elementary, middle school, high school. And she's going to have that voice in her head in college when she's off on her own and she is with a challenge and she can figure it out on her own, and have confidence that even if she makes a mistake, that she can pivot and everything's still figure outable, and find another way to get to, her happiness.
Oh my gosh. I absolutely love that. What's her name again?
Okay. Marie Forleo, Forleo. She is amazing. And she has the best hair on the planet. So that's all I'll say. But I think even if you don't, I have friends that don't have children, and I love when someone from the outside brings a perspective outside of the motherhood world. Oh, yeah. So I think that's why I also love personal development books, because there are a lot of authors I've read and followed and podcasts I've listened to that don't have children because they're building like multi-million-dollar businesses and either don't have time or whatever. And I respect that. Hallelujah. Right. But there's so many things I listen to that I carry into motherhood that have nothing to do with parenthood. It's just with life and how you can bring these life lessons in. And you can also bring it to things to a level that your toddler may understand, and then carry it through in other ways as they grow.
And I love that, because I feel like that can even be brought back to the friendship thing, where maybe you don't necessarily have to just seek out fellow mom friends, maybe the person that you need to be talking to is somebody else. You just have to figure that out. But I think that is awesome advice, that everyone can have great advice when it comes to just, improving yourself and et cetera. It doesn't matter if they have children or not. You can implement it into parenting.